Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Sydney International Regatta Centre for the third and final day of the New South Wales Rowing Championships. The first racing of today, there are 4 heats for the Championship Men's Under 23 pair. This event is sponsored by Perfect Balance Rowing. The start time will be 7 o'clock. We can see on the screen that they are now pulling into the pontoons to start, so there's a few boats being held already. Rowing New South Wales would like to thank their major sponsor, which is Bentley's Chartered Accountants and Business Advisors Australia. Bentley's continue to sponsor Rowing New South Wales, and we're always very thankful to have that. Other Rowing New South Wales sponsors are V Insurance. The V Insurance Group is proud to be an insurance broker for Rowing New South Wales. The Regatta Shop, Pontoon Sports, Croker Oars and Bont Rowing. And this year, Bont Rowing has come on as our official live stream partner for 2020. Bont Rowing specialises in rowing shoes, which are designed by rowers for rowers. You can jump online and check them out. Also, we have Lakeside Catering, and the Lakeside Restaurant is open today from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m, so that's just at the back of the grandstand. Serving up delicious food and refreshments, and it'll be nice, dry and warm in there, I would imagine. Rowing New South Wales would also like to promote the work of WIRES and the local Castlereagh Rural Fire Service. It seems a bit unusual to be talking about the fire season given the conditions out here today and in the last couple of days, but there is great need out there. Details of how you can donate can be found on our website and in the Regatta Daily Wrap-Up emails. The Laurie Steptoe Scholarship is an annual award to an aspiring New South Wales athlete-based rower to commemorate the great contribution of Laurie Steptoe to the sport of rowing, to ensure that his name and legacy live on. Applications close at 5 p.m. on Friday the 14th of February. Further information is available on the Rowing New South Wales website. So the first race will be starting very shortly. It is the first heat of the men's under 23 pair. The first 4 will progress through to the semi-final, so the racing will usually be to get that coveted at least 4th spot. We don't really want to come 5th in a race like this. Elite pair, under 23 pair, we can expect to see a very high standard of rowing. It looks like they're about to start. In lane 1, we have Harrison Miller and Jamie Arnold from Melbourne University. In lane 2, Bailey Flecker and Gus Laufman from Western Australia Rowing Club. In lane 3, Angel Seidler and Connor Gordon from Cand, which is in Queensland. In lane 4, Marcus Britt and Will O'Shannessy from Sydney University and representing the New South Wales Institute of Sport. In lane 5, Harry Crouch and Oscar Carr Middleton from Sydney Rowing Club, also representing the New South Wales Institute of Sport. In lane 6, Connor Ryan from North Esk and Tom Williamson from Toowoomba, representing the Queensland Academy of Sport. In lane 7, Tom Rada and Kane Bullock from Banks. And in lane 8, Nicholas Vlaco Dimitropoulos, excuse me for my mispronunciation, and Tom Murray from Mercantile. And the racing is now underway. And the first race has gone through the first 500 metre mark. We're just waiting for some times to come up on the screen. This early in the morning, given the conditions, we may be waiting for our volunteer timekeepers to make their way to the hut and settle in. So I'm not too concerned about that, but we can see on the screen the rowers are certainly... Yes, it looks to be the Toowong composite out ahead of BLACKMAN. It does seem to be a tailwind with a slight crosswind coming from the south side of the course. And they're now coming up to the 1,000 metre mark. And it does appear to be the Toowong composite. Oh, actually the Sydney... Yeah, the Sydney Rowing Club crew of Crouch and Carr Middleton in the lead. With a very handy lead of a couple of lengths. Followed, I think, by the Toowong composite. So, yes, Sydney Uni in the lead, followed by the Toowong composite. Then Mercantile, very close behind them. Western Australian Rowing Club, and the Sydney crew is following the Western Australian Rowing Club. They're then followed by BLACKMAN and Melbourne University, but the real race is going to be on for fourth place, given the margins as they cross the 1,000 metre mark. And as they come up to the 1,500 metre mark, the Sydney Uni crew seems to have opened their lead to a very handy 3 lengths, I would say. Running at 5 minutes at the 1,500 mark. Followed by the Toowong North-esque composite, about 4 seconds behind. Then Mercantile, then Western Australian Rowing Club, and they've stretched out their lead by a couple of seconds over the Sydney crew. So it's the first 4 through to the semi-final. And while we sit here very comfortable up in the finish tower, the rowers are gradually appearing in the gloom of the wind and rain out there, so trying conditions, but it certainly hasn't slowed them down. The Toowong, like now into the last 250 metres, the Toowong crew are really pushing hard. So they would be jostling for positions in the semi-final, and I would dare say just trying to keep warm. Over here in lane 8, Mercantile crew is doing the last push. Oh no, they've just started to relax. So it's going to be Sydney Uni, Toowong, Mercantile, And over in lane 2, Western Australia Rowing Club. So those will be the crews which go through to the semi-final. They were followed by Sydney, and Banks are doing a last-minute push to get across the line. And Canned are just about to finish.
And we do just have lining up now down at the start what is Heat 2 of the Championship Men's Under 23 pair. You can see them lining up now. Looks like we might be waiting still for a couple of boats. It's another full race. Over in lane 1, we have the Toowong combination of Gifford and Matheson. In lane 2 from Mercantile, Maddi and Ankerman. In lane 3 from North Esk and Buckingham, we have the combination of Haas and Gillaham. In lane 4 from Swan River, we have the combination of McKillen and Glover. Lane 5 from Western Australia Rowing Club and Swan River, we have Rees Turner and Henriques. Lane 6, we have Sydney University 6 of Edmondson and Fisher. Lane 7 from Sydney, representing also New South Wales Institute of Sport, we have the combination of Nicole and Potter. And in lane 8, closer to the grandstand side that appears to have scratched, we did have Page and Ellis. As mentioned earlier, there are 4 heats in this event and all the other pairs are lining up down at the start. The top 4 progressing through to the semi-final. We can see that the starter there is probably doing the roll call.
Just to remind all competitors, a new draw, the draw was revised, so we encourage you to double check the times for the draw. It's available online and at the boat shed. There are hard copies at the boat shed. So a lot of the races are running now scheduled for a bit earlier than they were previously, so it's really important that you make sure you're looking at the most recent version of the draw. It's version 5. It's available online and hard copies over at the boat shed. Also, there was a pair of sunglasses handed in last night. If you've lost your sunglasses, they're available in the finish tower.
And this Heat 2 has just got underway for the men's under 23 pair. Looks like there's a bit of breeze at the start. The boats were tapping quite a bit. Breeze coming from the Penrith City side of the course over from lane 1.
So the second heat of the men's under 23 pairs through the 500 metre mark. We'll provide an update as they go through the 1,000 metre mark.
Looks like coming through the 1,000 metre mark, the lane 7 crew from Sydney Rowing Club just into a bit of a lead. Then back to the Western Australia composite Swan River. Couple of clubs from out west in second and third place, followed by Mercantile, North Esk, Banks Combination, Melbourne University and Toowong. So that North Esk Rowing Club just sitting behind in 5th place behind the Mercantile 1 crew. Definitely going to push in this last 1,000 metres to try to get into the top 4 to progress through to the final, or to the semi-final, sorry. And just leaving the start there was the 3rd heat in the Championship Men's Under 23 pair. Over in lane 1 in the heat 3 was Sydney University, Melbourne University, Brighton Grammar, Sydney Composite with Sydney University, Melbourne University, Swan River, Banks Combination and Toowong. But currently just coming into view on the course is heat number 2 of the under 23 pair. Reminder, we do have a scratching in lane 8 closest to the course. Through the 1500s it was the Sydney Rowing Club, followed by Swan River, followed by Western Australia Swan River Rowing Club. 4th place Mercantile and North Esk and Bucks looking like they've just, or Buckingham, sorry, look like they've just dropped back a little bit off that 4th place. Looking like the top 4 crews coming down just over on the right-hand side of the course, but then also closer in lane 7 is the leading boat from Sydney Rowing Club. Quite a tight race coming into the last 250 metres here. No boat out in a comfortable lead, so all crews having to work to maintain their top 4 positions. Looks like the Western Australian Swan River composite crew. Lane 4 looks like it is giving a bit of a challenge to the Sydney crew closest to the grandstand side, but still both crews looking comfortable going forward into the semi-final. Just as they go across the line now, could be a photo for 1st and 2nd, but it will be lane 7 and lane 4 progressing through Sydney and Swan River 2, followed by Western Australian Rowing Club, Swan River, 4th place Mercantile. Unfortunately, in 5th place, we'll have North S Composite with Buckingham not progressing through. Melbourne University in 6th place in lane 6. And in lane 1, just going across the line, the Toowong crew in 7th place.
And the third heat has already been through the 1,000 metre mark, just coming up to 1,500 metre. In the lead is Cooper and Hooper from Melbourne University, followed by Chambers and Miles from Sydney Uni. Then Murray and Olsen from Sydney, or the Sydney and Sydney University Composite. Kibble and Pincus from Toowong. Kirkham and Bortolisi from Brighton Grammar. Sander and Deracourt from Swan River. Villick and Sigeta from Banks, and McPeak and Agilopoulos from Melbourne University. It looks like so they're just coming through the 1,500 metre mark. The first 4 crews are fairly tight. The Sydney Uni crew has overtaken the Melbourne University crew, and the Toowong crew's overtaken the Sydney crew. But there's a fair gap back to the 4th place of, the 5th place of Banks. So if they hold their positions, it's quite clear that the Sydney Uni, the Melbourne University Uni, Toowong, and the Sydney University Composite will go through.
Just going back to race 146, it was the Sydney Rowing Club over Swan River Rowing Club just by .09 just to get that first place in heat number 2. Coming into the last 200 metres now, looks like the crew over there in lane 1, the Sydney Uni combination, just in a nice comfortable lead. Second place, probably closest to the grandstand, the Toowong crew, and then over in lanes 4 and 5, looking like they'll round out the top 4. Lane 4 being a Sydney composite with Sydney University, and lane 5 being Melbourne University. Bit more of a spread out field than the previous race. Just crossing over in lane 1, first place, Sydney Uni, followed by Toowong, followed by lane 5, Melbourne University, and lane 4, Sydney University composite crew, making the top 4 to progress through to the semi-final. And in 5th we had Banks, 6th place Brighton Grammar, 7th place Swan River. And in 8th place, just shortly coming over the line in lane 4, Sydney I think we've had a bit of a bow number problem there. Yeah, but we've already had a 4. No, but... And the Melbourne University crew coming over in 8th place. And heat number 4 of the men's under 23 pair is through the 1,000 metres. Over in lane 1 we have a Uni Queensland crew, followed by a canned Tweed Heads Coolangatta composite crew, lane 4 Mosman crew, lane 5 Melbourne University, lane 6 Melbourne University, lane 7 Brighton Grammar, and lane 8, Western Australia Rowing Club composite with Swan River. Through the 1,000 metre mark, it was the crew in lane 5, just getting into a good lead, about 5 seconds over. The crew in lane 6, also from Melbourne University, closely followed by the canned Tweed Heads composite crew, followed by Mosman, again quite closely behind. top 4 crews looking like they are set. That Western Australian Swan River crew probably going to give it a bit of a good hit in the last 500 metres just to try to get through to that semi-final in that top 4 position. And they are definitely, yeah, coming home strong, moving from 6th place up to 5th place on the way through the 1500 metre mark. So this Swan Western Australia composite crew with Swan River in lane 8 coming up on the grandstand side, definitely giving it all they've got to get to that top 4. The competition just a little bit over on their stroke side, probably a little bit hard to see. But again, close racing here in heat 4, forcing all crews to really put it all on the line as we come into the last 200 metres. Does look like the crew in lane 5 getting out to a bit more of a lead now. Melbourne University, one combination of Tom Hooper and Rowan Lavery. Maybe just starting to relax a little bit as they get into the last 100 metres here. Definitely tight for second, third and fourth place, all quite close together. Lane 3, lane 4, 6. Unfortunately, lane 8 from Western Australia Rowing Club coming in 5th place. Was a photo for second and third. I'd say that it was the canned composite over Mosman there, but we'll wait for the official timing to come through.
And the next set of the next set of races is the Championship Schoolgirl Single Scull. Fantastic that they're all out there in these conditions. This will be there are 4 heats. So the first 4 will go through to of each heat will go through to the semi-final. Racing is underway. In this first heat, we have Josie Richards from Sydney Girls in lane 1, Emily Barrell from Redlands in lane 2, Sarah Abrams from Hunter Valley Grammar in lane 3, Laura Sweeney from Carey Grammar in lane 4, Madeline Vag from Canberra Grammar in lane 5, Antonia Hendricks from Glebe in lane 6, Elizabeth Carter from Newcastle Grammar in lane 7, Taylor Kerpiniotis from UTS in lane 8, and Katerina Savaronis from St Catherine's in lane 9. So we have a full field here.
Just back on that heat 4 from the men's under 23 pair. It was Melbourne University first, canned combination with Tweed in second. Third place was Mosman, and fourth place Melbourne University combination. Melbourne University 5 progressing through to the semi-final later today.
And the first heat of the schoolgirls single is approaching the 500 metre mark. It looks to be Madeline Vag from Canberra Grammar in the lead, but it's very close with Elizabeth Carter from Newcastle Grammar, who's actually just crossed over in the lead. So that's Elizabeth Carter from Newcastle Grammar, then Madeline Vag from Canberra Grammar. A bit of a gap back to Katerina Savaronis from St Catherine's. Then Sarah Abrams from Hunter Valley Grammar, followed by Taylor Kerpiniotis from UTS, Josie Richards from Sydney Girls, Emily Barrell from Redlands, Lara Sweeney from Kerry Grammar, and Antonia Hendricks from Glebe. So the girls have just gone through the 1500 metre mark with Madeline Vagg from Canberra Grammar with a fairly comfortable lead, followed by Elizabeth Carter from Newcastle Grammar, then Katerina Savaronis from St Catherine's, Sarah Abrams from Hunter Valley Grammar, and so it's the first four through, and there's quite a gap back to Taylor Kerpeniotis in 5th place from UTS. Then Josie Richards from Sydney Girls, Emily Burrell from Redlands, and it seems there's a bit of a gap back to the 8th and 9th placings. So Antonia Hendricks has managed to push through from 9th to 8th place, and Lara Sweeney from Kerry Grammar. But a large margin of 28 seconds from between Emily Burrell and Antonia Hendricks. And just now in the last 250 metres, you can see out there with a comfortable lead in the middle lane is Madeline Vagg. Then across here in lane 7 from Newcastle Grammar, Elizabeth Carter. Katerina Savaronis in lane 9, closest to the grandstand. And then across the other side in lane 3, Sarah Abrams from Hunter Valley Grammar. So it does look like these will be the 4 that go through the final, although Taylor Kerpeniotis is giving it everything she's got to over here in lane 8 to try and get into the 4th position, but I don't think she's going to make it. So that's Madeline Vagg from Canberra Grammar, Elizabeth Carter from Newcastle Grammar, Katerina Savaronis from St Catherine's, and Sarah Abrams from Hunter Valley Grammar will be the rowers that go through to the semi-final.
And heat 2 of the schoolgirls single scull has just gone through the 1000 metre mark. Over in lane 1 we have Sydney Girls, lane 2 Redlands Grammar, lane 3 MLC School, lane 4 Centenary, lane 5 Capital Lakes, lane 6 Glebe, lane 7 Newcastle Grammar, lane 8 St Hilda's, and lane 9 UTS closer to the grandstand. As they went through the 1000 metres, it was the MLC School rower of Lily Smith in first place. Bit of a gap back to Centenary, Rebecca Moore O'Farrell. In third place from St Hilda's, Amy Taylor. As they're just coming into vision now from the grandstand. As the Heat 2 comes through the 1500 metre mark. Looks like the places have maintained in the top 4 with MLC School Lily Smith in first place, getting out to about a 7-second lead over Rebecca Moore O'Farrell from Centenary, back to St Hilda's Amy Taylor, and UTS Ester HAJNOVICOVA in fourth place. Then back to Newcastle Grammar, Isabella Oakley, Redlands Emily Pashley, Capital Lakes Sarah Bender, Glebe Rowing Club Alexandra Hammer, and Sydney Girls Katrina Towie. Looks like a comfortable lead into the last 50 metres over in lane 3 from the MLC School Lily Smith. Very relaxed into the last 50 metres over the line. Comfortably back to lane 4 from Centenary. Rebecca Moore O'Farrell. And then over to lane 8, comfortable as well from St Hilda's Amy Taylor. Top 4 crews progressing through to the semi-final later on today. UTS taking out the top 4. Coming through the 1500 metre mark now for Heat 3 of the schoolgirls single scull in lane 5. Kerry Grammer, Laura Jane Irving in first place, followed by Tara School, Sarah Fad. In third place, in lane 7, Redlands, Maddi Howard. Fourth place was MLC School, Ella WOOLBANK. Fifth place from Hunter Valley Grammar, Georgia Mortimer. Lane In 6th place in lane 4, Centenary, Gemma Thompson. 7th place, Redlands 5, Kristen Walker. 8th place in lane 8, so from St Paul's, Charlotte Ferry. And in 9th place in lane 9 from Yarra Yarra, Lottie Adrians. Does look like a close race between lane 1 and lane 5 from Carey Grammar and Tara School. Just under a second separating them at the 1500 metre mark. Coming to the last 100 metres, looks like the crew over in lane 1 from Tara School. Just pulling into a little bit of a lead, not too much effort required now as they've got a nice lead on the rest of the pack. Top 4 going through to the semi-final. And then lane 5, Carey Grammar. Photo finish there for first and second, but it will be the Carey Grammar crew. Sculler and over in lane 1 from Tara School. Going first and second. In 3rd place was Redlands. And then in 4th place in lane 3, MLC School, Ella WOOLBANK. In 4th place, rounding out the progression forward into the semi-final. And then in 5th place from Hunter Valley Grammar, Georgia Mortimer. 6th place, Centenary. 7th place in lane 2, Redlands, just going over the line. And in lane 9, just crossing over now, from Yarra Yarra. In 8th place, we've had a little capsize back down the course, just 250 metres out. That looks like it's this St Paul's high rower, Charlotte Ferry, unfortunately.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah. Yeah. Just a reminder with the weather, in particular the wind, to make sure everybody secures their tents and their boats especially. So be sure to make sure everything's tied down. And we have race 52, the final heat of the championship schoolgirls single scull has just come through the 1500 metre mark, with Meg Cartwright in lane 4 from Corio Bay in the lead, followed by Jamie Maybury from Sydney in lane 9, closest to the grandstand. Then Caitlin McManus Barrett from Sydney Girls, right next to her in lane 8, followed by Emily Battermeyer from Redlands in lane 7. So all the action is on this side of the course. Then it's in 5th place is Inez Kritzler from MLC School out in lane 3. She's nearly or about 4.5 seconds behind, so it's unlikely that she'll make that up in the last 250 metres. She's followed by Holly Backer in Baker and from Hunter Valley Grammar in lane 6, Michaela Hole from Tara School over in lane 1, Megan Price from Redlands in lane 2, and Madison Portelli from Kerry Grammar in lane 5. So Meg Cartwright out there in lane 4 has a fairly comfortable lead, and closest to the grandstand, Jamie Maybury from Sydney has done a final push just to be sure that she's well into second place. She's followed by Caitlin McManus Barrett from Sydney Girls, Emily Batemeyer from Redlands. So those are the first. So those are the rowers that will go through to the semi-final. Inez Kritzler from MLC just missed out in 5th place, followed by Holly Baker from Hunter Valley Grammar. Over on the far side there, we have Megan Price working, Michaela Hole just crossed the line, then Megan Price from Redlands about to cross, and we're just waiting on Madison Portelli from Kerry Grammar.
Just about to head off at the start. We do have heat 1. That's the first heat. Wow. That's 6 heats in this event here. Heat 1 for the schoolboys single scull. Over in lane 1 from Redlands Grammar, Tom Morris. Lane 2 from Scott's, Harry Davis. Lane 3 from Marist College, Max Lester. Lane 4 from Newington, Hamish DANKS. Lane 5 from Redlands is Bo Davis. Lane 6 from Pembroke School, Nick Blackham. Lane 7 from Xavier, Max NEAVE. And lane 8, also from Xavier, is Max Willoughby Goff. These boys just sitting down at the start, getting ready to go. That's the race underway now. We actually have a scratching in lane 2 from Scott's College. Harry Davis not making the start. Looks like we've had a capsize in the first 100 metres or so of the race, possibly lane 9 by the look of it. I think it was. I recognise that hat from the starting photos. Could be Max Willoughby Goff, unfortunately going for a swim just after 100 metres into the race. Just as the first heat come through the 1,000 metres here. Looks like the rower in lane 6, Pembroke School, Nick Blackham out in lead there. Looking like a comfortable lead. Not many other scullers in the photo there as he comes through the 1,000 metre mark. Very comfortable lead, actually. Second place to Newington, Hamish DANKS. Third place from Marist College, Max Lester. Fourth place, Max NEAVE from Xavier College. That would be the top 4 progressing through. If they can hang on to these positions, it looks like there's a bit of a gap back to 5th place, so most likely they'll be the top 4 that progress through to the semi-final. The first heat coming through the 1,500 metres, that Nick Blackham from Pembroke School still in that commanding lead. Just passing through the 1,500 metre mark now, looking very comfortable. Then over to lane 3 from Marist College, Max Lester in second place. Just over 4 seconds back to Max NEAVE from Xavier. And then from Newington, Hamish DANKS. Hamish DANKS has dropped back to 4th place from second, possibly just saving himself for the semi-final. Top 4 boats pretty clear here. Just into the last 200 metres now. Nick Blackham from Pembroke School, definitely in a nice, comfortable lead. Displaying a nice, comfortable few strokes into the finish line here. Max Lester over there in lane 3, just starting to wind it up a little bit. Then back to lane 7, Max NEAVE from Xavier School. Just cruising across the line here. Not doing any more than he needs to. And then in 4th place will be lane 4 from Newington, Hamish DANKS. Definitely looking very relaxed over the finish line. And the Redlands sculler Tom Morris over the line there in 5th. And then it will be the other Redlands rower, Bo Davis, coming over in 6th place. He's winding it up for the last 50 metres. Putting in all he's got to get to the finish line. Definitely going for a PB time here. Probably getting up to the 30s as a stroke rate there across the finish. Underway, we do have Heat 2 of the Championship Schoolboy Single Scull. This event is sponsored by Sykes Racing. Over in lane 1 from Kings, we have William Borg. In lane 2 from Hunter Valley Grammar, Mac Arnott. Lane 3 from Newington, Adrian Freiberg. In lane 4 from Xavier, Salah Sprue. In lane 5 from Kerry Grammar, Drew Lloyd. In lane 6, Xavier, Thomas Craig. From Redlands, in lane 7, Alexander Verschure. And in lane 8 from Marist College, David Connolly.
Just a reminder to make sure all equipment, particularly tents and boats, are well tied down. From the finish tower here, we can see that the wind is quite gusty. So just be sure that everything's secure.
This looks like a bit of a closer race coming through the 1,000 metres. Adrian Freiberg going through in 1st, followed by Salah Sprue in 2nd, just over a second behind. In 3rd place was David Connolly from Marist College. And then just about half a second behind, William Borg from Kings. Boys now just coming through the 1,500 metre mark. Still looking like William Borg from Kings has come through into 1st place over there in lane 1. Had a very solid 3rd 500 metres there. Definitely starting to pull a long way out over 2nd place from Newington, Adrian Freiberg. Closely followed by Salah Sprue from Xavier, and back to Kings. Oh, I think. lane 1 row of William Borg really getting into that commanding lead now. A lot of chaos up here, with the rower from the previous race rowing down there looking like he's in a commanding lead. That's Max Willoughby Goff from the previous race just rowing down. So coming into a very close finish here. Looks like the rower in lane 3, Adrian Freiberg. Just got about half a length's lead over the rower in lane 6 from close finish there. Definitely coming in for 4th place. Looks like lane 1 followed by lane 4 by lane 8 Marist College. Top 4 progressing through will be Newington, Xavier, Kings, Xavier 5, Salis Brew rounding out the top 4. Then back to Marist College, David Connolly in 5th place. Redlands 3, Alexandra Boucher. 7th place from Hunter Valley Grammar, Mac Arnott. And finishing off Heat 2 will be from from Kerry Grammar, Drew Lloyd. Heat 3 is underway as well. They've just gone through the 1,500 metre mark. Going through in 1st place from Mosman, Max von Appen. In 2nd place from Xavier, Patrick Shaw. 3rd place from Newington, Shannon Lowe Griffiths. In 4th place, Marist College, Cormac Hayes. And then a bit of a gap back to 5th place, about 11 seconds behind to James Patton from Hunter Valley Grammar. So the top 4 crews looking quite comfortable here again, coming into the last 300 metres. Looks like these 4 boys are doing just what they need to do to progress through to the semi-final. Just coming into the last 200 metres now. These 4 scullers just holding on to their same positions from the 1,500 metre mark. From Mosman over here in lane 8, closest to the grandstand. Just a fraction of a lead over the Xavier rower from Victoria, Patrick Shaw. Closely followed by lane 3, Cormac Hayes, and lane 6. Looking like the Mosman rower just getting over the line first there. Very comfortable, followed by lane 6, Xavier, Marist College, and then Newington. Those 4 boys easily progressing through to the semi-final. Back to lane 5 from Redlands. Matthew White just crossing over the line now. then the Xavier rower Patrick Singh in 6th place, and then in 7th place from Redlands, Matthew White.
So the 4 to go through will be Max von Appen from Mosman, Patrick Shaw from Xavier, Cormac Hayes from Marist, Shannon Lowe Griffiths from Newington.
In heat 4 of the schoolboys single scull, just going through the 1,000-metre mark, we did have from Newington Luka Stefanovic in 1st, followed by Patrick Somerville from Xavier in 2nd place, Ben Vickery from Hunter Valley Grammar in 3rd, and in 4th place Tate Van Hemst. Look like they've maintained that same positioning going through the 1,500-metre mark. Back to Joseph Walker from Radford College in 5th place. Good 5-second gap there, so it looks like the top 4 scullers have got their positions leading into the last 500 metres. Probably quite comfortable now, starting to wind down. Then back into 6th place, we have Joseph Clausen from Xavier, Nicholas Wilkes from Redlands,
So as they come through to the last 150 metres, you can see here in lane 8, Lucas Stefanovic from Newington has a clear lead, followed by Patrick Somerville from Xavier over in lane 5. That's the boat with the red top. It's followed by Hunter Valley Grammar over on the far side, Ben Vickery in lane 2. And Tate Van Hemst just cruising along there in lane 3 from Glebe. Go Glebe. Quite a gap back there to Joseph Walker from Radford College in lane 6. Then we have Joseph Clausen from Xavier in lane 7. And not too far back is Nicholas Wilkes from Redlands. So the first 4 through will be Lucas Stefanovic from Newington, Patrick Somerville from Xavier, Ben Vickery from Hunter Valley Grammar, and Tate Van Hemst from Glebe. So heat 5 of the Championship Schoolboys Single Scull has come through the 1,000 metre mark with Alexander Holthuer from Redlands in lane 5 in the lead, followed by Luke Harvey from Newington in lane 2. Then Finley Moffat from Hunter Valley Grammar over close to the grandstand in lane 8. Very close, battling it out with him, is Kyle Riley from Newcastle Grammar in lane 7. Then Samuel Waugh from Xavier in lane 3. Carl Koverick from Newington in lane 6. And William Clifton from Drummoyne in lane 4. And they've just come through the 1500 metre mark. Alexander Helthauer has held his lead, followed by Luke Harvey. Kyle Riley has pushed through into 3rd place, then followed by Finley Moffat, and then there's quite a gap back to Carl Koverick for 5th place, so it seems fairly clear that those first 4 will go through to the semi-final. In 6th place running at the moment is Samuel Waugh, then followed by William Clifton from Drummoyne. And as they come into the last 200 metres, Alexander Holthauer is from Redlands, has his comfortable lead out there in lane 5 in the middle of the course. Then across here to, far on the far side, Luke Harvey from Newington in lane 7, closest to us, or closer to us, Kyle Riley from Newcastle Grammar. These 3 boys are all looking fairly comfortable. They're not pushing too hard because they have a comfortable lead. The one that's pushing the hardest there, you can see in lane 6, is Carl Koverick from Newington, trying to secure. No, I think he's just realised he's not going to get there, so he's eased off. So the first 4 through will be Alexander Helthauer, Kyle Riley, Luke Harvey and Finley Moffat. So although he had a really good go there, Carl Koverick has missed out, coming in 5th. 6th place to Samuel Waugh from Xavier, and William Clifton from Drummoyne is just about to cross the line.
Coming down the course, we do have now heat 6, which is the final heat for the Championship Schoolboys Single Scull. In lane 2 from Xavier, we have Charles Ahmad. In lane 3 from Newington, Leo Berwick-Doyle. Lane 4 from Newington, Sam Bistow. From Uni of Queensland, in lane 5, we have Clancy Doe. In lane 6 from Canberra Grammar, Raf Priest. In lane 7 from Newcastle Grammar, Jaden Routley. And in lane 8 from Redlands, Tom Hartnell. Just going through the 1,000 metre mark there. Clancy Doe from Uni Queensland in quite a strong lead. Jaden Routley in second place, followed by Raf Priest in third, and fourth is Sam Bistow. These four looking quite comfortable in the top four positions, ready to progress through to the semi-final. In fifth place, Leo Berwick-Dole, 18 seconds behind. This is heat 6 coming through the 1500 metres. Now, Clancy Doe still in first place. Raf Priest has moved up into second place, followed by Sam Bristow from Newington, and then Newcastle Grammar, Jaden Routley. These four boys have got quite a good distance over the remaining crews, probably going to progress through quite comfortably to the semi-final later today. As we get into the last 200 metres now, Uni Queensland, Clancy Doe looking very comfortable out in the lead there. Uni Queensland, Clancy Doe crosses the line in first place, very comfortable. Back to Raf Priest from Canberra Grammar in lane 6 in second place. Again, looking very comfortable over the line. Sam Bristow from Newington crossing over there. And then in lane 7, Jaden Routley crossing over in fourth place. Coming up next after the schoolboys single scull 6 heats we've just finished there, we're going back to 1,000 metre racing for some under 16 women's coxed quad sculls. Just race 161. Just pulling in right now. We have Heat 1 of the Championship Women's Under 16 Cox to Skull. In lane 1, Hunter Valley Grammar. Lane 2, Pimple Ladies. Lane 3, Redlands. Lane 4, Loretto Maritiville. Lane 5, Cathedral. Lane 6, PLC Sydney. Lane 7, Loretto Kirribilli. And lane 8, Queenwood, closer to the grandstand.
And being under 16, this is a 1,000 metre race, so it's not a held start, and they're off. The starter is in the 1,000 metre tower and gets a line across the water. So this is the Women's Under 16 Coxed Quad Skull, and this event is sponsored by V Insurance. There are 3 heats, so only the first 3 will go through to the final. So in lane 1 we have Hunter Valley Grammar, in lane 2 Pimble Ladies 1 crew, in lane 3 Redlands 3, in lane 4 Loretto Marriottville, in lane 5 Cathedral, in lane 6 PLC Sydney, in lane 7 Loretto Kirribilli 3 crew, and in lane 8 Queenwood.
Being only the short distance, we do get some quite close racing here. Looks like they're just coming through the 500 metre mark. Could be the Loretto Kirribilli 3 crew in lane 7 going through in first.
No. Oh, yeah. Good call. Lane 8.
Lane 8, maybe Queenwood pulling into a bit of a lead there. That's it. Queenwood going through first, followed by Loretto Kirribilli, then Redlands 3, Loretto Maritiville in 4th, 5th is Cathedral.
So the real racing will be on to gain the coveted 3rd place. That'll be Loretto, between Loretto Marriottville and Redlands, who were very close as they came through the 500 metre mark. Cathedral could still be in the running. They were only 1.5 seconds behind. So that's where the racing will be. The leaders of Queenwood and Loretto Kirribilli should be able to hold their place. So over in the 2 lanes closest to the grandstand, Queenwood pushing to stay hard and pushing hard to stay in front, followed by Loretto Kirribilli in lane 7. Across in lane 3, Redlands crew. Then the race is on between Loretto Marriottville in lane 4 and Cathedral in lane 5. But the first 3 crews appear to be comfortably into the final. So it's going to be Queenwood here in lane 8, Loretto Kirribilli in lane 7, and over in lane 2, Pimble Ladies. Cathedral managed to pull through from 5th to 4th with and overtake the Loretto Marriottville crew. Followed by PLC Sydney, Redlands and Hunter Valley Grammar.
Heat number 2 has started as well for the championship women's under 16 coxed scull. In Heat 2, coxed quad scull, sorry, yes, in Heat 2 we have Kinross Woolaroi in lane 2, PLC Sydney, lane 3, Pimble Ladies, lane 4, Loretto Normanhurst, lane 5, Canberra Grammar, lane 6, Loretto Kirribilli, lane 7, Redlands, and closest to the grandstand in lane 8 is Radford College. Looking like quite a close race here as these crews are about to go through the 500 metre mark. Possibly the Redlands crew in lane 7 look like they might be out into a bit of a lead. Sorry, over in lane 1, Kinross in first place, followed by Redlands, followed by Loretto Normanhurst, and then Canberra Grammar in 4th. 5th place is Pimble Ladies, 6th place Loretto Kirribilli, 7th place PLC Sydney, and in 8th place Radford College.
But there's going to be a real fight for that. The coveted 3rd place. The Canberra Grammar, Pimble Ladies and Loretto Kirribilli crew were all within about 1.5 seconds of the current 3rd place as they went through the 500 metre mark of Loretto Normanhurst. So some great racing out there in rough conditions. So as they come into the last 250 metres, Kinross Woolaroi over there on the far side in lane 1 still seems to be holding on to their lead, followed by Redlands here in lane 7, closer to the stand, then across in lane 5, no, lane 4, it looks to be Loretto Normanhurst. So those seem to be the first 3. The other girls and the other crews haven't managed to pull through, although here in lane 6, Loretto Kirribilli is having a good push to try and catch them. So they've pulled right through from 6th place. So that's a comfortable win for Kinross Woolaroi, followed by the Redlands crew and the Loretto Normanhurst crew. So those will be the crews that go through to the final.
Just as it appears, where they couldn't get any worse. It has, with now a definite side breeze coming from lane 1 across for Heat 3 of the women's under 16 coxed quad scull. Over in lane 1 we have Loretto Kirribilli 4, in lane 2 Loretto Kirribilli 1, lane 3 Brisbane GPS, lane 4 Redlands 2, lane 5 we've had a scratching from Roseville, in lane 6 Loretto Maritieville 2, lane 7 Radford College 1, and lane 8 Canberra Grammar 2. As they went through the 500 metre mark, the Radford College crew out in front in lane 7, followed by Loretto Kirribilli over there in lane 2, and then the Brisbane and GPS combination in 3rd place in lane 3. Looks like they're getting out into a decent breakaway lead here to progress through to the final. Top 3 going through. At fourth place, Loretto Kirribilli definitely putting all in for the last 250 metres, trying to chase the Brisbane GPS school, Brisbane and GPS, sorry.
Yeah, no, there's no lane one, I don't think.
Looking like the Loretto Kirribilli crew in lane 2 going across the line comfortably first. Radford College having a little bit of problems with an oar, still going over in second for the 2 seat there. Third place in lane 3, Brisbane and GPS, making out the progression through to the final. And in fourth place in lane 1, Loretto Kirribilli 4. In fifth place, Loretto Maridaville. Sixth place, Redlands 2. And that rounds out Heat 2 of the under-16 Coxed Quad.
And the next 2 races will be the men's under-16 Cox Quad Scull, again sponsored by V Insurance. There are only 2 heats here, so the first 4 will go through to the final. In the first race, in lane 1, we have Redlands 2 crew. In lane 2, Newington 1 crew. In lane 3, Shaw 2 crew. In lane 4, Hunter Valley Grammar. In lane 5, Canberra Grammar 2. In lane 6, Redlands 1. Lane 7, Newcastle Grammar. And lane 8, Radford College 1. And again, being under 16, this is a 1,000 metre race. So if you look on the screen now, you can see the starter has a line across the field, and they would be about to start. Lane 9. So it appears the final crew from the previous race, the women's under-16 quad scull, must have had an issue. Canberra Grammar about to cross the line. And they have their time taken as well with the hooter going. Well done, ladies. Whatever happened.
Yes, they might. Yeah. Fix that one up. The coming down the track now is the first heat. They've just gone through the 500 metres mark, coming to the last 250 metres. Looks like it could be the crew over there in Newington in the lead as they come into the last 250 metres, looking quite comfortable. Then a close race over on the grandstand side to Radford College, Newcastle Grammar and Redlands Grammar. Radford did just have look like a little bit of a crab there, so possibly losing a little bit of their lead that they had. Hunter Valley Grammar looking in quite a strong, looking like a strong crew rowing through now. Maybe they can come through in the last 100 metres. But the Newington crew definitely in the lead. And then over to the Newcastle Grammar crew by the look of it. Radford looking like they're making up some lost ground there. Going to second place will be Radford, followed by Newcastle Grammar, and then Redlands 1, and then Hunter Valley Grammar. Across the line in 5th place.
The four crews through to the final will be Newington 1 crew, Redford College, Newcastle Grammar and Redlands.
Lining up down at the start now in heat number 2 of the men's under 16 Coxed Quad. In lane 1 we have Shaw 1, in lane 2 Canberra Grammar 1, lane 3 Redlands 4, lane 4 Redlands 3, lane 5 Marist College, lane 6 Newington 2, lane 7 St Augustine's, and lane 8 closest to the grandstand is Radford College 2. Starter looks like they're just getting them in a line now.
Very difficult in these conditions to line everybody up without being held on water. As you can, and they're off. Not exactly a straight line, but probably the best they can do in these conditions.
Looks like we might be missing a St Augustine's crew there. Might be a bit of a gap in the field.
It looked like the crew in lane 6, it might have been Newington, just had a bit of an issue at the start there and stopped rowing, but they're well underway again.
Just from up here, it does look like the Newington crew in lane 6 getting out to a bit of a lead in the first 400 metres of the race as we come through the 500 metre mark. As Shaw goes through the 500 metres first. Apologies, St Augustine's is in this race. But going through the 500 metre mark, we had Shaw in first place, St Augustine's in second. Third place is Newington, fourth place is Canberra Grammar, fifth place Marist College, sixth Radford College, and seventh Redlands. And eighth place Redlands 4. Some tight racing still for third second and third place between St Augustine's and Newington 2. Canberra Grammar about a second behind in fourth place. See what they can do into the last 250 metres to try to get up into that third place to progress through to the final later on today. Over on the far side there, it is definitely the Shaw crew quite comfortably in the lead. Second, third and fourth here will be quite a tough race. Canberra Grammar over there in lane 2 coming back in the last couple of 100 metres to now be in contention for a place to progress through to the final.
It's first 4 through, so they're all
Yeah. So the first 4 easily made up here of Shaw over there in lane 1, Canberra Grammar, lane 2. In lane 6 we have Newington, but just going over the line ahead of them is lane 7 from St Augustine's there. Yeah. And then back to the rest of the field here. A good race here between Radford and Redlands. The Cox sitting up in the Redlands crew, getting a good look over the Radford crew here, but the Radford crew just pipping them over the line. Redlands coming through in 6th place. And then another good race here between Redlands 4 and the Marist College crew. Looking like the Marist College crew have a good surge there to just get over Redlands. And that finishes our 1,000 metre racing for the under 16 boys and girls Coxed Quads. Now we're heading back down to the 2,000 metre start for the women's under 23 pair. This is the first of 2 heats. In lane 2 from Melbourne University. Lane 3, Swan River Composite with Western Australian Rowing Club. Lane 4, Melbourne University. Lane 5, Sydney Rowing Club. Lane 7, Canned Rowing Club. Lane 7, Sydney University. And Lane 8, Fremantle Composite with Western Australian Rowing Club.
So the championship women's under 23 pair coming about to start, or they're underway. This event is sponsored by Perfect Balance Rowing. Being the under 23s, this will be a highly competitive race, and we can see as they pushing through probably the first couple of 100 metres there, they are getting along very nicely. You can see on the screen the squalls and the gusts as they go across the water, so it's trying conditions out there and very wet. So as they approach the 500 metre mark, it looks like Lauren Graham and Isabel Farrer from Sydney, representing New South Wales Institute of Sport, probably have a lead. That may be Charlotte Wers and Jean Mitchell from Melbourne University. We'll see that as they cross through the 500 metre line. Yes, it is the Sydney crew of Lauren Graham and Isabel Farrer. Fairly comfortable lead, about a length and a half there, followed by the Canned crew of Lukey Smith and Jess Scott. The times haven't come through, so we're not able to confirm any of those that order or where the rest of the field is at this stage. So all these crews you can see on the screen, they're working very hard because to make sure that they get through to the final. It's going to be the first 4 through. And as they approach the 1,000-metre mark, you can clearly see the Sydney crew in lane 5, Lauren Graham and Isabel Farrer, out in the lead. And it looks like next to them in lane 6, Lukey Smith and Jess Scott are holding their second position. Oh yes, a very nice lead there by Lauren Graham and Isabel Farrer. Followed by Lukey Smith and Jess Scott from Canned. Then Melbourne University, Charlotte Wirtz and Jean Mitchell. Followed by Kate Hunt and Jamie Ford from Sydney University. And then there's a bit of a gap back to the Swan River crew of Swan River Composite of Jamie Park and Vivian Noonan. So this is where the racing is going to be, is to, as they come up to the 1,500 metres, we'll see how they manage to get through. So the under 23 pair is just going through the 1,500 metre mark with Sydney crew clearly in the lead, followed by Canned a couple of lengths behind. Then across in lane 4, Melbourne University crew of Wirtz and Mitchell. Then Sydney University, Hunt and Ford. And only 1.3 seconds behind Park and Noonan from Swan River, the Western Australian crew. So they'll be the ones that will be really pushing to see if they can move into 4th position to go through into the final. So it's going to be a very comfortable lead here for Lauren Graham and Isabel Farrer from Sydney. Lukey Smith and Jess Scott just sitting there nicely behind them. Then followed by the Melbourne University crew of Charlotte Wirtz and Jean Mitchell. But the 4th place is going to be the tough competition over here in lane 7. Sydney University crew of Kate Hunt and Jamie Ford, and the Swan River Composite across in lane 3 of Jamie Park and Vivian Noonan. So it does appear that those two crews fighting for 4th place are pretty much neck and neck. Although I think the Swan River Composite crew has pulled through over there in lane 3. Yes, Swan River are going to take that coveted 4th spot to get through to the final. So the crews through to the final are Graham and Farrer from Sydney Rowing Club, Smith and Scott from Cand, Wirtz and Mitchell from Melbourne University, and the Swan River Western Australian Rowing Club of Park and Noonan. They were followed across the line by Hunt and Ford from Sydney University, Seed and Council from Fremantle Western Australia Rowing Club, and Tonelli and Dawson from Melbourne University.
And coming down just behind is the Heat 2 of the women's under 23 pair in lane 2 from UTS. We have, as they come through the 1500 metre mark, we had the Adelaide crew going through first, followed by Mercantile, followed by Western Australia Composite with Swan River, UTS, Melbourne University, and then ANU in 6th place. As they went through the 1500 metre mark, there was the first 4 pulling out into the lead. There was a bit of a gap between 4th and 5th from UTS back to Melbourne.
And you can see the first 2 crews have a comfortable lead as they come into the last 150 metres. That's Nicholson and Bramwell from Adelaide and South Australia. Tuddenham and Gleeson in lane 5 from Mercantile. Then across in lane 4, Hill and Jones from Western Australia and Swan River, and UTS crew in lane 2 of Podrazilova and Santruckova. So those 4 crews will go through into the final. Then they are followed across the line by the crew of Laura Foley and Eliza Gaffney from Melbourne University, Nicola Greenland and Lily Reardon from ANU, and that is the women's under 23 pair heats done. The next races will be the Championship Women's Under 19 Double Scull. There are 2 heats. This event is sponsored by Pontoon Sports. Again, with 2 heats, the first 4 will go through to the final. Racing is well underway. They've just crossed through the 1,000 metre mark. With Scammell and Neville from Kinross Wallaroy in the lead, fairly comfortably. Gavin and Cypher from Sydney crossed through in second. Then McLean and Moran from Capital Lakes and Mosman, followed by Prout and Feely from Sydney University. Then there's 4 seconds back to Nichols and Taylor from Sydney Uni Surfers Paradise. So unless they can make up that 4 seconds in the last 1,000 metres, the other 4 crews will be through. They were followed through by Robinson and Anderton from Penrith, and then Jebbit and Flay from Kerry Grammar. So the women's under 19 double scull first heat is about to come through the 1,000 metre mark. Well, oh, sorry, the 1,500 metre mark. Scammell and Neville from Kinross Wallaroi have a comfortable lead of 5 seconds over Gavin and Cypher from Sydney. Then a further 5 seconds back to McLean and Moran from Capital Lakes and Mosman. They're followed by Prout and Feely from Sydney University, and the 5th place of Nichols and Taylor, they've now dropped back to 7 seconds gap. They're followed by Robertson and Anderton from Penrith. So it looks like the first 4 that will go through will be Scammell and Neville from Kinross Wallaroi, Gavin and Cypher from Sydney, McLean and Moran from Capital Lakes and Mosman, and Prout and Feely from Sydney University. However, we should never call it until the race is finished, but you can see if you look out in the field, the first 4 have a comfortable lead. The boat sitting in 5th place is over here in lane 8 from Griffith University.
This Kinross Wallaroi crew looking very comfortable out there, just doing what they need to do. The Sydney Rowing Club crew just in a nice relaxed 2nd place as well. As the Kinross crew just goes across the line now in 1st place, very comfortable, followed by the Sydney Rowing Club crew in 2nd place. Looking like a good race here for 3rd and 4th, but should be okay as they will all progress. Lane 6 there from Sydney University in 3rd place, and then in lane 1, Capital Lakes Composite in 4th place, rounding out the top 4 crews that will progress through to the final later today. And in 5th place, lane 8, Griffith Uni Composite. Lane 4, Penrith Rowing Club just coming across the line. And then Kerry Grammar will round out the first heat of the women's under 19 double scull.
And the 2nd heat of the women's under 19 double scull is well underway. They're just starting to approach the 1,500 metre mark. In the lead as they cross the 1,000 metre mark was Coleman and Free from Griffith University, followed by Malcolm and Malcolm from Centenary, Cook and Cypher from Rockhampton Grammar, and Wallace and Collison from Sydney University. There was then a gap of 6.5 seconds back to Brown and Wagner from Nepean. So it seems that the first 4 crews will have a will comfortably go through to the final. Then further back in lane 2 is Downs and Ryan from Capital Lakes, and in lane 6, Carol and Bud from Carey Grammar. So they've gone through the 1500 metre mark. The crew of Wallace and Collison has made up ground from 4th to 2nd place, although they were very close as they did cross the 1000 metre mark. So, but they've now given themselves a bit of a gap of 2.5 seconds, so that's about a boat length ahead of Cook and Cypher. They're followed by very tussling it out with Malcolm and Malcolm, so that's between lanes 5, the Rockhampton Grammar crew, and lane 3, the Centenary crew. There's then a 7-second gap back to Brown and Wagner from Nepean. And the Capital Lakes and Carey Grammar crew are a fair distance back, which to me is not surprising in these conditions.
It definitely appears that the wind has come back for, again, these races coming down. You can see the swirls on the water on the camera. Also from up here, it's becoming quite obvious.
Well, we can hardly see out the window, really. So the Griffith University crew of Coleman and Free out there in lane 4 have a nice comfortable wind. Then a crossover here in lane 8 closest to the stand, Wallace and Collison from Sydney University and the ANU. A bit of a battle there for 3rd and 4th place, but it does look to be the Rockhampton Grammar crew of Cook and Cypher, followed by the Centenary crew of Malcolm and Malcolm over in lane 3. Then a gap of a couple of lengths back to the Nepean crew of Brown and Wagner. And then the other 2 crews are a fair way back. So that'll be the Capital Lakes crew of Downs and Ryan, and the Carey Grammar crew of Carol and Bud.
On to our next event, which is the men's under-19 double scull. Just while these girls finish off the heat with Carey Grammar there, we do have the men's under-19 double scull heat 1 of 2. Top 4 progressing through. This event is also sponsored by Pontoon Sport.
He was watching.
As they went through the 1,000 metres, we had the combination, the Sydney Rowing Club crew in first place, followed by Drummoyne, Brighton Grammar, Manning River, Redlands, Brighton Grammar, St Augustine's in 7th place. The Sydney crew of Applecroon and Furrow going through the 1,500 metres first again. Quite a bit of a distance back to 2nd and 3rd. The Drummoyne, Wenzel and Ween crew in 2nd place, and Brighton Grammar, WIS and Purse in 3rd. Back to Redlands in 4th. Top 4 crews going through. There's that Manning River crew of McDermott and Smith definitely going to be racing for that 4th place to progress through.
It's going to be a real battle for 4th place. The Manning River crew of McDermott and Smith were pretty much neck and neck with the Simpson and Durant crew from Redlands. So that's where the real racing is going to be. Also interesting, the Drummoyne and Brighton Grammar crew were pretty much neck and neck. Would have been a photo finish at that 1,500 metre mark, so we wait and see how they come into the finish line. Are now in the last 250 metres. The Sydney crew of Applecroon and Furrow over here in lane 7, as you can see, has a comfortable lead. The Drummoyne crew out there in lane 5 of Wenzel and Ween appear to have fallen back slightly behind the Brighton Grammar crew here of Wiss and Puis over here in lane 8, closest to the grandstand. But as I say, the battle is for the 4th place, which will get them through into the final, and that is between the Manning River crew of Dermot and Smith over in lane 5. In lane 4. That's Redlands and Manning River, but Manning River has taken it here in lane 6. So great effort by those two crews to get that 4th place. So the crews that will go through are Applecrim and Farrer from Sydney, Wiss and Puis from Brighton Grammar, Wenzel and Ween from Drummoyne, McDermott and Smith from Manning River, and Simpson and Durant from Redlands were just pipped by that Manning River crew. They were followed by Robertson Cap from Brighton Grammar and Thomas and Lawton from St Augustine's.
Going now to heat number 2 of the men's under-19 double scull. Over in lane 1 we have a Sydney University crew. Lane 2 is Marist College. Lane 3 Nepean. Lane 4 Brighton Grammar. Lane 5 we have a scratching from Mosman. Lane 6 University of Queensland Composite with Canned. Lane 7 Radford College, and lane 8 from Ballarat Grammar. As they went through the 1,000-metre mark, the University of Queensland Canned Composite crew of Lord and Long went through first, followed by Brighton Grammar, Crothers Bade and Oliver in 2nd place. In 3rd place from Brighton Grammar, Banfield and Frederico. 7 seconds back they were, so that's quite a distance back to 3rd place. 4th place Radford College, Robertson Schroeder, getting a bit of tough competition by the look of it from the Nepean crew in lane 3. As they go through the 1,500-metre mark, it is the Uni of Queensland crew in front, followed by Ballarat Grammar. They've followed by Brighton Grammar, Nepean and Radford. Nepean look like they've just got up over the Radford crew. Will be a tight 500 metres just to see who gets that. Again, 4th place to progress through to the final. Just coming into the last 250 metres here, the Uni of Queensland Composite crew in lane 6 still in lead, looking quite comfortable. The Ballarat Grammar crew in lane 8 also in a comfortable 2nd place. Crew over in lane 4 definitely giving it a good crack here from Brighton Grammar, trying to hang on to their 4th place. Top 4 to progress through. Still looking comfortable in the lead. Lane 6 here, Uni Queensland Canned Composite. Followed by lane 8, Ballarat Grammar. Then lane 4 will be Brighton Grammar. Lane 3, Nepean. Radford coming through in lane 7 will be 5th place. Just missing out and progressing through. Then lane 1, Sydney University.
So the stroke of the Radford crew there thought he'd hit the finish line and hadn't quite stopped rowing, but they still went across in that placing. So the crews that will go through to the final are Lord and Long from the University of Queensland and Cairns, Crothers Bade and Oliver from Ballarat Grammar, Banfield and Frederico from Brighton Grammar, and Kallantar and Harold from Nepean. Just missing out there were Roberts and Schroeder from Radford College, and Gibson and Ryan from Sydney University, and we have a Marist crew just about to cross the line, and that will be Sholton and Hart.
We do have down at the start now the semi-final, first semi-final of the men's under 23 pair. In lane 1, Western Australian Rowing Club. Flecker and Loofman combination, Melbourne University, Cooper and Hooper. Lane 3 from Swan River, McQuillan and Glover. In lane 4 from Sydney University, Britt and O'Shaughnessy. Lane 5 from Melbourne University, Hooper and Lavery. In lane 6 from Toowong, Kibble and Pincus. In lane 7 from Mosman, Udamark and Summons. And in lane 8 from Mercantile, Maddi and Ankerman. Coming into the last 250 metres, the crew's looking quite tight. There wasn't much separating them as they went through the 1500 metre mark. First place, the combination of Sydney University of Britt and O'Shaughnessy in first place with quite a good gap, hanging on to it as they come into the last 200 metres. But still quite a tight battle for that second, third and fourth. Those positions going through to the final. Yeah, the combination closest to the grandstand of Maddi and Ankerman in lane 8, definitely coming home quite strong, but I might be a little bit too late. As the lane 4, Sydney Uni, comfortable lead. Back to lane 5 from Melbourne University, Hooper and Lavery combination, comfortable second. Lane 6, Toowong, Kibble and Pincus. Oh. That'll be a photo there, but I think it might have actually been lane 8. Might have got up over the...
Lane 8 did a very strong push there. That's the crew of
Maddi and
Ackerman from Mercantile. So photo finish for 4th and 5th. So the winning crew there was Britt and O'Shaughnessy from Sydney Uni, representing New South Wales Institute of Sport. Hooper and Lavery from Melbourne University. Kibble and Pincus from Toowong, representing the Queensland Academy of Sport. And we're just waiting on the photo for the coveted 4th position to get through. But I would say from that real push that Mercantile crew of Matic and Ackerman gave at the end there, I think they just got themselves a bow ball ahead. But the photo will provide a far better result than my eyes.
Just while we wait for the photo finish there, we have race number 173 on the course. This is the semi-final 2 with the top 4 again progressing through. In lane 1 we have Melbourne University, lane 2 Western Australian Swan River Composite crew. In lane 3 Toowong Composite with North Esk. Lane 4 Sydney University. Lane 5 Sydney Rowing Club. Lane 6 Canned Composite with Tweed Heads and Coolangatta. Lane 7 is from Mercantile, and lane 8 is a Sydney Composite crew.
And in that previous race, the official results have come through, so that Mercantile crew in lane 8 with that final push managed to secure the 4th place to go through to the final, just beating their compatriots over at Melbourne University, Cooper and Hooper, by 0.22 of a second. So fantastic racing out there on the course in very difficult conditions. And the second heat of the men's under 23 pair has just into the last 500 metres, 250 metres. The Sydney crew of Nicol and Potter out in lane 5 seem to have the lead, although over here in lane 7, Mercantile of Vlachodimitriopoulos and Mer are giving a push similar to the compatriots in the previous race. Across there in lane 4, the Sydney Uni crew of Miles and Chambers pushing very hard as well. The real race is going to be on to see who gets into the final for 4th place between the crew out there of the Toowong the canned composite and the Sydney composite over here in lane 8. But it seems to me that the canned composite representing crew of Rhodes and Rowe more than likely got it across Murray and Olsen. So yes, the results have come through there. The winning crew was Vlachodimitriopoulos, apologies if any mispronunciation there, and Murray representing Mercantile, followed by Nicol and Potter from Sydney representing New South Wales Institute of Sport. Then Miles and Chambers in 3rd place from Sydney Uni representing New South Wales Institute of Sport. Less than half a second behind, Murray and Olsen from Sydney and Sydney University Composite. Then a very close 5th place from Rhodes and Rowe by 0.26 of a second from Canned and Tweed for representing the Queensland Academy of Sport, just missing out in getting through into the final. They were followed across the line by Ryan and Williamson from Toowong and North Esk, again representing Queensland Academy of Sport. In 7th place, Reese Turner and Enriquez from Western Australian Swan River. And in 8th place, Kuletza and Smith from Melbourne University. Some fantastic racing there.
Some very tight pairs racing to get through to the final later on today. We are now going back to the start for the Championship Schoolgirls Single Scull Semi-Final 1. Full race here over in lane 1 from Redlands. We have Emily Batemar. In lane 2 from St Hilda's, Amy Taylor. In lane 3 from Centenary, Rebecca Moore O'Farrell. In lane 4 from Carey Grammar, Laura Jane Irving. In lane 5 from Canberra Grammar, Maddi Vag. In lane 6 from Sydney Rowing Club, Jamie Mayberry. In lane 7 from St Catherine's, Katrina Saravanos. And in lane 8 from MLC School, Ella WOOLBANK. And it looks like they're just going through the 1,000 metres there with Carey Grammar rower Irving in 1st place, followed by St Catherine's Katrina Savanos, and in 3rd place from Canberra Grammar, Madeline Vag. The top 4 progressing through with in 4th place Centenary Rebecca Moore O'Farrell. Not too far back to Jamie Mayberry from Sydney that might come through in the last 1,000 metres, but again quite tight racing in these semi-finals.
And I see Amy Taylor from St Hilda's has withdrawn.
Yes.
we now have we have 2 races out on the course, both heats, both of the semi-finals for the schoolgirls single scull. The first semi-final is just approaching the 500 metre mark, and the second heat is, second semi-final is underway. We will provide an update on that as they come through. But at the 1,000 metre mark, 1,500 metre mark, the first heat, Laura Jane Irving is out in front only by less than 2 seconds, then followed by Katerina Savaronis from St Catherine's, battling it out with Madeline Vagg from Canberra Grammar, then Rebecca Moore O'Farrell from Centenary. Jamie Maybury is still in the mix because it's first 4 through, and she's only a couple of seconds behind. She could easily make that up over the last 1,000 metres. Further back is Emily WOOLBANK from MLC School, and then Emily Batemeyer from Redlands. For the second semi-final, they've crossed the 1,000 metre mark. Sarah Fard from Tara School out in front, then Meg Cartwright from Corio Bay, then Elizabeth Carter from Newcastle Grammar, battling it out with Lily Smith from MLC School. 4 seconds back to Sarah Abrams, so whether she can make that up in the last 1,000 metres. Caitlin McManus-Barrett from Sydney Girls, Maddie Howard from Redlands, and Ester HAJNOVICOVA from UTS, fair way back there. So in the first heat, they've come through the 1,500 metre mark. Laura Jane Irving, it has a not a big lead, only less than 2 seconds over Katerina Savaronis, and she's battling it out still with Madeline Vagg. Rebecca Moore O'Farrell has still held her 4th place. Jamie Maybury could be in the mix, but they really, as they're coming up to cross the line here with appalling weather blowing hard at us, it does seem to be lane 4. With Laura Jane, lane 5. Maddie Vagg has managed to pull through across the line, followed by Laura Jane Irving from Carey Grammar, Katerina Savaronis from St Catherine's, and Rebecca Moore O'Farrell from Centenary. Those will be the first 4 that go through. Jamie Maybury fell back from Sydney, so she will miss out, and she is followed across the line by Ella WOOLBANK. Cross on the far side there in lane 1, Ester HAJNOVICOVA and Emily Batemeyer. Now the second heat of this schoolgirls semi-final has come through the 1,500 metre mark. Sarah Fard has held her lead. Elizabeth Carter and Lily Smith are still battling it out, with Elizabeth Carter slightly in the lead. Meg Cartwright is up there too, so there's just over a second between those 3 girls. But the 5th place is in currently is Sarah Abrams. Whether she can make up the nearly 5 seconds to get into the final will be interesting. She's followed through by Caitlin McManus-Barrett from Sydney Girls, then Maddie Howard from Redlands, and Ester HAJNOVICOVA from UTS. So as you can see, they're just in the last 200 metres here. Sarah Fard from Tara here in lane 6, looking pretty comfortable. Then across without a bow number in lane 3 is Elizabeth Carter from Newcastle Grammar. 3rd and 4th are very close. As we said earlier, they're battling it out. So that's Lily Smith and Meg Cartwright. And across here in lane 8 is Sarah Abrams from Hunter Valley Grammar, but she's not going to make it, unfortunately, to get through into the final. She's working hard there, though, to see how close she can get. So the first 4 through will be Sarah Fard from Tara School, Elizabeth Carter from from Newcastle Grammar, Lily Smith from MLC School, and Meg Cartwright from Corio Bay.
We just have an announcement now that racing has been suspended, and so we're asking that no boats take the water whilst we have this windy weather coming through. The start for what is semi-final 1 of the schoolboys single scull has also been postponed shortly. We can see them rowing off the starting pontoons. The weather has really set in for the last couple of races. So just a reminder that racing has been suspended, and we're asking that no boats launch from the boat park, and also everyone to confirm that their boats and tents are tied down.
Yes, very important to make sure all your equipment and gear is secure.
Yeah, we can see there all the water rushing out onto the lake as the single scullers in the schoolboys semi-final 1 and 2 get taken out of the water or just pulled into the bank there.
And well done to the schoolgirls in their single sculls having raced in these conditions.
So please, again, just a reminder to everyone out in the boat park that we're asking that you don't launch any boats. Taking boats off the water is please, and make sure that all equipment is tied down, tents and boats. We can see there on the screen the schoolboys taking their boats out. Hopefully they've got some racks down there for them. You can see a shot there of the flags, definitely blowing very strong. Just again a reminder please for no more boats to be launching out in the boat park. Racing has been suspended until further notice. As soon as we have an update, we'll be letting you know.
We've just been advised that racing has been suspended at this stage, and we will be providing an update at 10 o'clock. So it's currently 9:30, so within the next half an hour we'll have a further update. So on the screen we can see the schoolboys taking their boats off the water down at the start line until we're advised as to what will be happening next. But we could see also everybody in the stands there is battling the wind blowing in. Very rough weather out here at the moment. Looking down on the course, it's a pity we didn't bring our surfboards. So at the moment racing is suspended and there'll be a further update provided at 10 o'clock.
As we can see there on the screen, some quads also being taken off the course. Just a reminder that we're asking nobody to boat any further, and if anyone can help also whilst we get boats off the water, that would be greatly appreciated. We're concerned of the safety while carrying the big boats. As mentioned just earlier, we'll hopefully have an update shortly on any news with regards to the regatta. Just as an update, we've been told by the head BROs here that unfortunately the remainder of the regatta will be cancelled due to the weather and the forecast of the weather. Just to repeat that the remainder of the regatta has been cancelled. Unfortunately, day 3 does not get to complete.
So we urge everybody to take great care in loading your boats in this wind. Ensure everything currently out is tied down.
And so, as just repeating again, the regatta has been cancelled due to the safety of the competitors out on the water. We do ask that everyone help out as best possible to get these boats onto trailers safely and in the boat park. And unfortunately, yeah, the remainder of the races, no more.
radio system that the rowers that are up at the start are about to be transported back, and the officials are working out how we'll get the boats that have been taken off the water up at the start back to the start line here, or back to the trailer park here. We'll provide an update as information comes to hand.